Inexorable Entropy is the fourth full-length album from Brazilian death metal band Escarnium. This band formed in the late 2000s and definitely had a style that was closer to the Polish death metal of the time, or Brazilian death metal in general, where there's a little bit of that Crisian-esque brutality to their stomp early on, and there's also some influence from Scandinavian death metal, and they eventually moved on to something closer to an incantation-esque sound, always looking to balance something that was kind of trippy with something that was fairly brutal, and they led with an atmospheric sound to start. I didn't really discover this band until they covered Headhunter DC, one of my favorite bands from Brazil. The way that they worked that into their 2016 EP really didn't happen. I didn't really like that record. It felt like a very sterile, cold, and just kind of plain record. And when they finally came back with a little bit of a different lineup, from what I understand, Dysthymia back in 2022 was pretty interesting for its more atmospheric side, use of a little bit of dissonance in some of it, and generally changing their sound for the better, making it a little bit less straightforward or plain. In their earlier interviews, they're very much all about aiming for something that is organic, straightforward, and real, something that is brutal but not ridiculous, and in direct avoidance of technical death metal modernity. And that hasn't changed. They're still aiming for a mix of interesting atmosphere and movement alongside brutality, and that's what we get here. We'll cut to a clip and get an example first, and then I'll explain why this is both a great record, but also one that doesn't fully get there for me. So where we start with this record is an introduction that's it's vestigial. It doesn't really matter. I deleted it off of the track list once I'd heard it. It doesn't really introduce the album in any serious way. And then we get right into the songs, and we start to feel this militaristic Angel Corpse Crisian era attack alongside something that is closer to maybe Label Mate's Fossilization, where we feel a little bit more of an atmospheric lurch to a lot of these songs. They're taking a few more breaks from the barrage of it all. They've always got riffs, so this band is always putting on a big show in terms of attacking their sound, but here on this record it feels like they've leaned closer into some of their immolation and ulcerate-esque influences to create something that flows a bit easier. It moves between its brutality and its spaced out movements a little bit more effectively, and generally just upgrades beyond 2022 in their sound overall. Very short record, very easy to pick up and just ride through. Great sound overall. There's nothing not to like about this, as it reaches their goal of that organic death metal result that isn't trendy. It doesn't have any real bullshit in it, although when they do drift out a little bit further into rhythmic nuance and anything but brutality, those are kind of the more interesting parts of the album. They do stand out a bit more for the sake of breaking apart a lot of their attack. I think it's a nice balance the way that it all plays out, and in that sense I don't really mind that it's a shorter album. I think they cut right at the point where it might have begun to be too much. I don't know how long this one will last on my shelf. It does keep calling back to me. Like I do want to keep revisiting it because it does have that immolation-esque side to it that I like quite a bit, and some more of the atmospheric death metal ideas that I appreciate as a reprieve from the brutality of it all. So pretty good record, a moderately high recommendation for me. Check it out for yourself. It released on May 9th, and go ahead and read my review for more details on my thoughts.